Hey guys, welcome back in this new video. So today we have huge news for Linux because on the Steam Deck statistics, Linux has grown 0.42% in just 1 month, reaching a new all-time high of 2.69%. So this means that every month 2.69% of the users that use Steam are using Linux. But some people will say, oh, but that's super low, that's like nobody. That's not true because Steam has millions, tens of millions of users every month, maybe even more than that. So let's search for it. So apparently there are no statistics officially, released by Valve, at least that I'm seeing, but it should be around 185 million monthly active users as of September 2024 on Steam. And it was around 120, 130 million in 2021, so it has grown, and Steam is also growing. So if we say that Steam has 180 million active monthly users, then 3%, about 2.69% of those 180 million users are on Linux, which is millions of users, so it's starting to get a lot bigger, the Linux platform. It's also bigger than macOS, right? macOS is more used than Linux on the desktop, but macOS is still more used than Linux on the desktop by quite a lot. macOS has around 15-16% of the market share. As you can see here, global stat counter, I don't know why they have split OS X and macOS, but basically they are the same thing. And so they combined, they make about 15.5% of the users of desktop computers, while Linux is at around 4%. So on the desktop, yes, macOS is more used than Linux, but on Steam, Linux is more used than macOS, and this goes to show how many people use Linux for gaming. There are way more people that use Linux for gaming than macOS, quite a lot actually. Linux has grown so much this month, it's crazy actually. And I think that Linux will have a 3% market share on the Steam Deck survey here, the hardware survey, by the next year. Like 1 year from now, everyone let's come back to this video to see and tell if my prediction was true. I think Linux will be more than 3% 1 year from now on the Steam hardware survey. And here, if we look at Windows and Macs and we click on Linux only, we can see more statistics for Linux. And this SteamOS Holo is basically SteamOS, the one that you have on the Steam Deck, that you now have on the Legion Go. And it is about 31% of Linux usage in general on Steam. Then we have Arch Linux, which is about 10%, which is crazy actually, because it's literally not beginner friendly, but it's still the second biggest, version that is used. The Linux Mint is the second one, Linux Mint 22.1 is the second one, 7.76%, which is good, third place. Then we have the free desktop SDK, which is Flatpak, basically the Steam Flatpak. And then we have Ubuntu, which is going down, of course, because it's trash. It's really bad, it's a really bad experience. Then we have cachyos, and this is growing amazingly. I'm on cachyos right now. It is my main OS alongside Linux Mint, although I use more cachyos than Linux Mint because of Wayland, because it's just better. And on X11 I have different issues, while on Wayland it is super smooth. Even with one monitor, it's still smoother on Wayland than on X11. And so it's just more enjoyable to use Wayland. Then we have Manjaro, which has gone down a bit. We have EndeavourOS, and so this will give you the idea of the most popular distros for gaming. cachyos is growing, it's gonna take the crown one day, I don't know precisely when, but I think it's gonna get around 5% in a year from now, because it's growing really fast actually. cachyos is growing really fast, for good reasons, because cachyos it's amazing. I think it's just the best distro for gaming and for general use even. Like I edit on cachyos, I do everything I need to do on cachyos, right? So it's good for everything. Maybe it's not as user-friendly as Linux Mint because it doesn't have as much hand-holding, but still I think cachyos it's probably the biggest beginner-friendly Arch-based Linux distro that there is out there. And so yeah, I'm super happy about Linux growing so much in the Steam hardware survey, because it shows that Linux is alive, that people use Linux, also people use Linux increasingly, like the market share of Linux is increasing, and there were a time, like 6 years ago, 5 years ago, where the Linux market share, like I'm talking about the desktop operating system, the market share, was around 1%. So on January 2018, Linux was at 1.43%, and now it's at 4.6%. And it's fluctuating between 4%, so it's been like a year that it has been on 4%, around a year. And this is great, okay? This is great because it means that people are getting used to Linux. And so the chance of these people switching back to like Windows is very low because the market share is been consolidating on 4% for now. And so 4% will be, and it already is, the new baseline market share for Linux right now, which is extremely good. Because once, as you can see, the base market share was around 1%, and now it's 4%. Like, Linux has grown a lot, and there has been recently a lot of videos about Linux, especially from PewDiePie. That video from PewDiePie was amazing, and maybe that video does not help increase crazily the market share, because it's just 5 million views. Like, it's a lot of views, but of course it's not going to make so many people switch, like as a mass migration to Linux, that we will see any change in market share. But it's just benefiting because it's planting the seed. Like, people get the idea that Linux is usable, that Linux is great, and that Linux is the future, and also the present, and that also Linux is a viable gaming platform. So just by sharing the word, even if not many people will switch to it, at least they know, and so in the future they will be more accepting of a switch towards Linux. And so this is just planting the seed, and it's great. And I'm so happy about Linux increasing market share both on like the desktop side and on just Steam. Because as I said, it means that Linux is active, that Linux is growing, that Linux is a healthy platform, and it's only gonna get better from now on. The support of anti-cheat, which I think it's probably the biggest issue on Linux gaming, it's gonna get solved. Now, I don't know when it's gonna get solved, but if Linux keeps growing, of course it's gonna get solved. Like, companies go where the money is. And each month there are way more money on Linux as the Linux market share grows, especially on Steam. And companies are noticing that. Companies will also notice that. The ones that have not noticed it already, they will notice that. And so they will find a way to support Linux. And that is good. Like, Nvidia just recently released a Steam Deck native app of GeForce Now, which was a complete mess of a release because it absolutely doesn't work outside the Steam Deck. And it doesn't work on Nvidia cards, which is a crazy mess that they did. I don't know if they will ever fix it or if this was intentional. If this was intentional, it was extremely dumb because it literally makes no sense to lock other Linux users out of a Linux native application. Like, it makes no fucking sense. But whatever. But companies are noticing Linux, companies are porting their Linux software. I've seen a lot of like GUIs for like VPNs being ported to Linux. We have a new browser which is called Orion, which looks really interesting, that is being ported to Linux. And so we're seeing a lot of software that has been ported recently. Like, even the Z code editor, it has been ported to Linux. I don't know if they have a Windows version right now of Z. Even the Orion browser is gonna be ported to Linux before it's ported to Windows. Like, they're just working on the Linux version, which is crazy. And we've also saw the port of OCCT, which is a cool benchmarking software. You see, is this one. Now they have a Linux native version. OCCT has been ported for Linux, you see. And so a lot of things are being ported to Linux. People are starting to notice Linux and see it as a viable platform for gaming and for their software to be deployed to. So even if the increase in market share was little, if we see like compared to 100% of compared to where Windows is at, but this 0.42%, it's hundreds of thousands of people, if not at least 1 million people. So, you know, it's a huge increase, and every single increase counts. And so it's very important that the Linux market share rises, and it is. And it will keep rising because Linux is getting better. It's not even about Windows getting worse, it's just that Linux is getting better. And Linux is great already. Like, I'd say it's greater than Windows for gaming. So it's getting better, it's already great, it's also getting better, and people are noticing that. More people use something, the better support it will have. It's just what it is. And so great times are ahead for Linux and for us Linux users. So that's it for today's video. I hope you've enjoyed. Please leave a like and subscribe. It will help the channel grow a lot. And I'm going to see you in the next video. Bye bye.